For this session, I would like to introduce Floyd. Floyd Sainer has been working with Moodle for many years and has organised the Midwest Moodle for the past 5 years. So knows what it's like to organise these things. And in this session, he's going to be talking about the external tools and LTI in Moodle, which is, I agree, something that is rarely used. But it's actually really fascinating once you dig in. So look forward to this, Floyd.
Okay, thank you. Can everyone hear me okay? Just place something in the chat if you can hear me. If you have problems, let me know. Okay, sound is good. Looks good. A little bit about myself. I'm located in northern Indiana in the United States. It's cold and rainy here now. It's about probably 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is cool for this time of the year. At this point, I'm a Moodle e-learning consultant. I work with a variety of learning management systems, but mainly with Moodle. But my other background is 25 years in higher education as a professor of computer science and also director of instructional technology. But I left my institution about 3 years ago and just do consulting now. I'm interested in where you are from and perhaps what you do. So if you would just put in the chat window your location and maybe what you do. New Zealand, North Carolina, great. Hamilton, Vancouver, I've been there, wonderful city. Okay. Germany, I've been there. Basel, Switzerland, I've been there. Chicago, I've been there. Well, I go there a lot. I'm close to Chicago. Rutgers. I used to live north of Philadelphia. Yeah, I've been around quite a bit. Okay, well, I'm going to talk about external tools and LTI. And I will admit right up front that I'm fairly new to this too. It's something I looked at in Moodle. I said, oh, that looks nice, but I never really used it. And so I decided to start digging into it and found that there are some really, really neat things you can do with Moodle and these tools called LTI, Learning Tools Interoperability. So let's first talk a little bit about what LTI is. It's nothing more than a set of standards, and it was developed by IMS Global Learning Consortium. There's a link there that you can go and read about IMS Global. And these standards define procedures for sharing learning applications, tools, learning objects, whatever you might have, between what IMS Global calls a tool provider and a tool consumer. And so you will see those two terms used in the literature and documentation associated with LTI, a provider and a consumer. If you want a more detailed description of how that works, you can go to this URL right here. I'm not going to bother going there right now because that's something you can do on your own. So as I mentioned, the important aspects: a tool provider makes content and learning applications available on a server platform. And the tool consumer then accesses and embeds that content in a learning environment such as Moodle, Sakai, Blackboard, Desire to Learn, any software that is configured to be an LTI tool consumer. Now, the very important thing to understand here is the content runs on a server at the tool provider location, usually provided by some third party. So you don't install anything on Moodle. You don't have to put it on your server. You are accessing it, and you're yes, you would be a consumer, although at the Maureen. However, in the at the end of this presentation, I'll show you where you might be a producer, because Moodle can be a tool produce or provider. And so I will show you an example of that. But for this first part of this presentation, when we look at being a tool consumer, Moodle is only providing the link and the window to access that content. So you can access the content, application tools, learning objects, and you might say, well, why don't we just put a link to it and go to their website? Well, we might like to embed it within our course. There are some tool providers that have a subscription service, and they might restrict their access to their tool by a shared key. And actually, if this all gets set up properly, you could have something like, let's say you have a science course and you're working with one of the third parties that provides learning objects for your science course and also quizzes. Then if you are connected with the LTI tool, the learning tool provider should be able to pass their quiz results back to Moodle, back to your course. So you can exchange some limited information between the provider and the consumer. So let's look at some examples. When I do presentations, I like to talk about what something does. I like to show what it does, and then we get in and we actually do it. So I'm going to go into a course right here. This is a Moodle 2.6 site, and I have some LTI examples already set up. Let me turn editing off so that this looks a little better here. So here is a TED Ed.
Sorry. Floyd, are you sharing your screen?
I'm not. Thank you so much. I do that all the time. Okay, I know how to do it. It's just I forget. So thank you for jumping in. Let's see. Oh, there's another screen I have to do. Run this time. Okay. Okay, now I believe you should see my screen. Is that correct?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yes.
We can see it.
Now we'll go back, and now we can look at these examples. Good, good. I can't see the chat window when I'm here, so it's good you give me some verbal feedback. Okay, so here are just some resources that I have linked to. Now, there are several ways to make the resource appear inside your course. One way is to embed it in your course along with the course blocks that you already have. So this first one, I picked up a TED Ed video, and we will go there, and notice I just put a note here, this is embedded with blocks. So now you'll see it's in my course. Here's the TED Ed presentation, and over here on the right are the navigation blocks. I'll just click on this and play it a little bit.
When I was in 4th grade, my teacher said to us one day, "There are as many even numbers as there are numbers." Really, I thought? Well, yeah, there are infinitely many of both, so I suppose there are the same number of them. But on the other hand, even numbers are only part of a whole number. All the odd numbers are left over.
Okay, so I'm going to stop that now, and that gives you one example. I can now go back to my course. The second one is being pulled from Khan Academy. It's about one of their arts series, Portrait of a Man in a Red Turban. This will be embedded in my course, but without blocks. So when I click on this, we will now see the video. But notice there are no blocks here at all, but I can play it right inside my course.
We're in the National Gallery. One day I'm looking at a Jan van Eyck portrait of a man with a red turban.
And this is thought by many artisans to be a self-portrait of
Okay, so we'll stop that and go back. Now here is another way to do it. This is a K-12 example I pulled up about writing literature. And this is going to pop up in a new window. So it will be outside of my course. You'll see up here at the very top, where I hope you can see my cursor. It's right up the top. And now we're in a new window. And you can go in, and we're actually on the site. So this is like popping up to their site. And students can work with this. I'm going to close this window and go back to my course. Here's another from public collections, LTI, some games. This one I believe I have embedded in the course. Okay. And then one more that we're going to look at, a WordPress site. Now, first of all, I'm going to click and go to a WordPress blog that is on another server, okay? So here is a blog, and I set this up and said, this is our Moodle class blog in WordPress. There are no posts so far. So what I have done is I have connected to that blog via LTI. Now this took a little bit of a setup. It's not as easy as the other ones. My son is pretty much a WordPress expert, and so he set this up for me. But if I click on that, notice that I am inside my course. Here is the blog inside the course, and I might want to leave a comment. Okay, and I will post that comment. And now you'll see actually right here is my post. But the interesting thing is, if I go back to the blog site, you will see there is my post. So this is pretty cool. Why would I want an external blog? Well, maybe you want more capability than the Moodle blogs have. Maybe you want to have 2 or 3 or 4 different classes contributing to the same blog that you would create in WordPress. Maybe you would be working, think about having your school connecting to a school with in a different country. And so you can have students hosting to this same blog right from within Moodle, and they can be sharing different cultural perspectives and so on. I would again notice I'm right in my course, so I can go right back to the LTI demonstration course. So those are some examples I already set up. I'm now going back to Big Blue Button. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay. Oh, hi, Shalimar. Someone else I know here. So now, where can we find these tools and these resources? There are a number of places. One place to go is IMS Global. Another is a place called Edu Apps, and then another one, Edu Apps Center. I will show you these, so I'm now going to share my screen again. All right, I believe that's showing. Here's the IMS Global Learning Consortium site. And these tools are all IMS LTI certified. So you'll see they have 3 columns here: ebook tools, ePortfolio tools, collaboration tools. So Blackboard Collaborate, if you use that for webinars or web meetings, that is a tool that you can plug in. Learning Objects, you can subscribe to their services if you want and then use their tools. Notice Mahara is in here too. ELG, I know a lot of K-12 schools use that. Classroom Capture and Lecture, Specialty Course Tools, Assessment Tools, and so on. MVantage, I know a lot of people use. Big Blue Button, which we are using here for this presentation, is also LTI certified. Oh, tons and tons of tools. A number of people are doing that. We will also look at, whoops, this one, let me go back, Edu Apps. Edu Apps is a neat place to go because you can sort by category, you can sort by grade levels, and you can sort by platforms. But even though Moodle isn't on there, if the tool has been created according to the LTI specification, it'll work in Moodle. You don't make a tool specific to a learning management system. So there are a number of things here you can use. Okay, and then Edu App, this App Center is another one, and again, categories, platforms, grade levels, and so on. Some of you may be using Dropbox, so there's an app. All right. We're now going back to Big Blue button. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So, how do we set this up in Moodle? Moodle, ever since version 2.2, is configured to be an LTI consumer. You don't have to install anything, don't have to enable anything. It's right there. It's one of the standard plugins. You can go to this documentation link here and see, get documentation on it, but I'm going to show you how to do it now. There are a couple ways you can do this. Teachers can add LTI tools as a course activity. You need then to know what the link is to the tool and all of that. However, if there's something that your entire institution uses frequently or your school uses, site administrators can pre-configure LTI sources. So I will show you each of these. I forget what my next slide is. Yes, okay. You need to find the LTI tool launch URL and keys if any are used. Now, what I found in working with this is that most tool providers give you a configuration file, a configuration URL that's a .xml file. For some reason, Moodle cannot read that file and doesn't use it. So if you put in the configuration URL, Moodle generates an error message, and then Moodle says, but here's the launch URL. Well, that launch URL is embedded in the configuration URL. Go figure. I don't know why. So you need to get that information. I will show you using the configuration URL. I'll show you the error that occurs, how to find the launch URL, and then I'll show you an easier way. You create a new activity in your course, and here's one little criticism I have. Moodle doesn't label it LTI, it labels it external tool. but the external tool is really LTI. Other places in Moodle, they call it LTI. And then you supply the required information. So it's that simple. I'm now going to share my desktop. Before I do that, are there any questions at this point? Yeah, something to go in the tracker, agreed. Joshua, you like, yes, look at ChemVantage. Joshua, if you do some web searches on ChemVantage, LTI, Moodle, you will see some videos. I think it might be Gavin Henrik in Ireland who has an example of ChemVantage. Somebody does, or it might be there's somebody in the Detroit school district. That's where it might be, the Detroit schools. You might look there and see what they have. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. All right, and now I'm going back to my course. Going to turn editing on, and actually this maps I'm going to delete. Okay. So let's go to Edu Apps. Well, no, let's go to this one, Edu Apps, and let's go to categories completely free. Okay, that would be great. And let's say, here's one that I like, this public collections, because there are tons of stuff in there. So I'm going to go to public collections. And here is where they give us a configuration URL. And this is the one, I'm going to click here and go to the end. Notice that it's an XML file. Well, that's not what Moodle wants, but we have to somehow find what the launch URL is. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go back to my course, add an activity or resource, and what you want is this right here, the external tool. So we'll give it a name. So right now I'll just say that we're going to use the I'll just say LTI setup, and we'll change that later. And now I want to set this up. I'll go right here and give the launch URL. Let me paste that in there. And right now I'm not going to do anything but save and display, and we're going to get an error. Okay? And now it reports back and says, right here is what we want, not that. And so this is the launch URL. So if I copy that and now go back, oops, and edit this, what I want to do is rather than that XML file, put in there that launch URL. Now, I don't know why it says using TED-Ed, but it shouldn't be. And here's where you decide you want to embed it, embed without blocks, put it in a new window. I'm going to say embed without blocks. Privacy setting, we don't need any grades here, so we're not going to do that. You want it to show all of these things. You can restrict access, so on, like you can with anything else. So now I'm going to save and display. Now what happens is this public collections has a whole collection of tools that you can search through. Anytime you set up one of these LTI tools, you go into this collection, you search for something, and then it ties that LTI activity instance to a particular activity. So let's go down here and see, what about if we go down to the Internet Archive. I'm going to go to the middle or this archive and search for something on Moodle. And right here is a podcast with the Moodle Guru. So let's take that. And now, let's put in now, since I know what I selected, we're going to say Martin D podcast. Okay. Now when I go there, whoops, it did not. This never happens to you, does it? Okay. Let me go back here. I think the problem is I had to have something filled in here. Okay, so this is, we'll do public. Yes, I didn't have a key. If you go back to this public collection, I'm going to switch to that. You'll see that this will accept any key or secret. So there's really nothing that we need to do except put something in there. So what I usually do is put in key for that and secret in for that. Embed without blocks, accept grades, never for this. Save the changes. Now, all right. So now let's go to this. And now we'll do Moodle, search, this. And that did not do what I thought it would do. Oh, this is horrible, because I did this yesterday and it all worked. Apologize for that. Okay, let me go over again. External tool, add. And I should be able to do, let me use this public collection, see if that's working. Launch, no. That's not going to work again. I don't know what's happening here because it should tell me I have selected that and that is what it's going to display. Well, let me try another one. Embarrassment to the hilt here. And like I say, this did work yesterday in my example. So let's go to another one. I know well, let's go to TED Ed. This one should work. This is one I've already set up. I went and I got this tool at TED Ed, and I just put in key and I just put secret. Again, we don't need any for that. Save these changes. Save and display. Whoops. Okay. Now it should come up and let me search for or select something within a TED Ed video. Okay. So how much does a video weigh? Well, let's do that. There it worked. Now it tells me I've selected that resource and it's going to be directed to this link. All I need to do is go back to the course. And now if I click on the TED Ed talk, it pop up and there we are.
Base of weight loss resources, you can calculate that by the time I'm done with this speech, those of you who are standing will have burned 7.5 more calories than those of you who are beanbagging it.
Okay. So you should all stand up during this demonstration. Let's try another one. Hope this works better. I'm confused about why that other one's not working. So let's go here, external tool, add. And let me go over here to another collection. Let's go back here. Completely free. YouTube for schools. What would be a good one here? Let's just try YouTube for schools. Again, I'm going to go here, and it's going to give me a configuration URL, which you will see is an XML. Now here's another way to find out what the launch URL is. I copied that configuration URL. I am now going to open a new tab, and I'm going to paste that URL in, and here's the XML file. Don't get too frightened here. You just come down near the top, and you will see a launch URL right there. That is what you want. So I copy that. So this is sort of the quick way without going through and getting an error. So now I'm going to come back and put this launch URL in here. Again, if I go back and look at this, it's going to tell me any key and secret will work. So I don't need to put in a special secret or a special key, but I do want to put something in there because it will look for something. Okay. And what else do we want to do? Privacy, we don't want any grades. Launch container, let's embed without blocks. Save and display. Whoops, and I forgot to do that. Okay, so now I can start looking through YouTube Edu. So this is providing me a window into that. So let's say we look for something in fine arts, in dance. Not getting anything there. Let's go here. Interesting. There we go. So let's say we're doing something on the French Revolution. Here we go. And now it took me here. I don't know what's happening here. Okay, so now we have one on monotheism, I guess. Resource selected. This is what you want to see, okay? I now go back to my course, and when I click on here, that should be embedded. Either YouTube or my video or my server is very slow here.
Hey guys, welcome to Edu's History. Today we're going to take a look at world history, specifically belief systems related to monotheism.
Okay. So, in spite of those few glitches, I was able to add some links. Now, that's as a teacher going in and doing individual things and searching for resources. Let's say I'm a system administrator. I want to go and create resources that can be used site-wide. So what I would do is I go into Site Administration. I want to go to Plugins. And then I want to go to Activity Modules. And then down to LTI. And here again is where there's inconsistency in nomenclature. In one place, we're talking about external tools. Another place in the menu, it's calling it LTI. So if I go to this link, I can go in and set up external tools for everyone in my institution to use. So let's go back and find completely free categories. I'm going to try this Internet Archive again. I want to get this thing. So, okay, so here's this configuration URL. I am now going to paste this in and look for the launch URL. Okay, so right there. Now going back to my course, and I'm going to add an external tool configuration. So we will call this Internet Archive. Here is the tool URL. Notice it doesn't end in .xml. Again, I believe this one was totally free, so we can put anything in here. I want to embed without blocks. And do I want the teacher to set up the launcher's name? Do I want to pre-configure it? Well, let's see. We're going there. I don't want to do that. We're just going to say, nope, we don't want the teachers to do that. So I set this up, named it HTTPS, and now there's one more thing I must do. And it's very important that you select this box. If you don't select this box, teachers will not be able to see this link. So now I save my changes. And notice that Internet Archive has been set as one of the available tools. Now I'm going to go back to my course. And I'm going to add another external tool. Hope this works this time. Now we're going to say Martin D, because I know I want to get to that. And now all you need to do is go in here and in these global types, select Internet Archive. That's all a teacher would need to do. It's already set up. Save and display. Now it should take me to the Internet Archive. I'm going to search for Moodle. And now it worked. Okay. So we picked that resource. Okay. So all I need to do, it's that quick and easy. It's now in my course, and when I click on this, it's going to link me right into Martin's talk, and I can play it right here.
I'm Tim Wilson, and you're listening to the Savvy Technologist Podcast for November 9th, 2005. Moodle is the world's leading open-source course management system and is gaining converts in K-12 school districts, universities, and corporations for its ease of use and powerful features. Martin Dugiamas began development on Moodle in the 90s out of frustration with the WebCT beast, as he puts it, and continues to lead the project today. Martin in Perth, Western Australia, and I in Minnesota connected via Skype recently for a discussion about open-source software, Moodle's philosophical foundation, and some exciting new features that are on the way. I'm really interested about why you created Moodle in the first place. Now, they have a saying in the open source world that a lot of open source projects get created because the programmer's trying to scratch a particular itch. So did you have an itch that you were trying to scratch?
I did. I was very itchy. I was working at a university on it was a WebCT installation, in fact, which is a commercial course management system.
Okay, well, that's enough there. In fact, Martin Bugiyama speaking in 2005. So again, notice we are still within our course, and students just click on the link and that pops up. I'm now going to stop sharing my screen. And we're back. So, Teresa, there's nothing sent back to Moodle at this point. You're just embedding it. So, what I think I would recommend, and you saw this in the trouble that I had setting up a couple of those with the Internet Archive, it might be good for your system administrator at your institution to set up several of those site-wide links so that teachers just go and click. They don't have to look for that special URL. The site admin does that and can test it, and everything works fine. So, yes. What is the advantage of doing this over embedding? Well, you don't, number one, what I'm showing you are publicly accessible tools that really aren't, the examples I'm giving you aren't a whole lot different from going to a site and embedding something. If the link is already set up, as I just showed you, it was very, very easy for me to go in, and I don't need to know anything about embedding. I don't have to copy. I don't have to go to YouTube and go for the embed link, the share, the embed, copy the HTML code, go back into my window and open up the HTML tag and paste that in there. That can be very, very confusing. So yes, this just booms. Now, Teresa, yes, certainly the more recent Moodle does the embedding in most cases. But the further advantage that I would see of this is when you're using some sites that might not embed well, or sites that would have subscription services, something like that. So I think as you play around with it and as you find what some of these other subscription services are and how they can communicate with Moodle, you'll be then be able to see what some of the advantages are. So I already showed you this, how the admin can set up something in advance. But now here is the really, really powerful part of this that I get excited about. Juan Leva has written an LTI Provider plugin for Moodle, and here is the link to the plugin and the instructions. Again, I'm not going to go there because you can go and read this on your own time, but essentially you download and install the plugin. It appears in Site Administration, Plugins, Local Plugins, LTI Provider. Configure the plugin according to the instructions, and then you can share an entire course or even something down to an individual course resource or activity. And that's what I'm going to show you now. So I'm going to share my screen again. So I'm going to a different course. This is a course that was developed for teaching online, or it's for faculty members who are teaching online. And first of all, let me show you what was done to this plugin. So I added a plugin, Local Plugins, LTI Provider. Okay, so you put the plugin, you add the plugin to Moodle, and then you go down through and go through all these settings. They're fairly good instructions for it. This I was able to set up and use very, very quickly. After this plugin has been created, then when you are in a course, your course will have a link called LTI Provider, and teachers will be able to use this. Let me turn editing off here so we have a cleaner screen. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on LTI Provider, and I'm going to add a tool from this course. Now, what am I going to provide? I can provide the entire course if I want to, or I can provide any resource in the course, even a label, okay? So what I'm going to do first is set up one with a little survey that is in this course. So I selected that resource. Send grades back. For these things you really don't need to worry about. I'm going to take that one out. Those we don't need. Here is the shared secret, and you need this shared secret to for the two to communicate back and forth. For the default, I'm going to say LTI user. This will let me later go back and delete some users, but you can set up anything here that you want default users to configure it as. And I think this is it. So now I go down and save my changes. Now, this says for this course, Teaching Online, in the tools provided, I'm providing the feedback tool. Here's the shared secret. Here is the launch URL. I'm going back to the course right now. Right here is that survey, okay? So what I did was just made an LTI Provider out of that, okay? Now, I'm going to jump to a totally different server. This server that you see right here is running with eClass for Learning up in Wisconsin somewhere, okay? I'm going to jump over to another server that I have running on Bluehost, okay? And here is a course. I am now going to add an activity or resource. I'm going to add an external tool. So now I'm adding a consumer. What I did in my prior course was making a provider. I'm now making this as a consumer. And so I'm going to call it survey. The external type configuration, I think I need to set this up. Now, when you're making Moodle as a provider, you do not need a consumer key, so I'll just put key in there, but I do need that shared secret. So I'm going back over here, and I'm going to copy this. Okay. Oops, that I have wrong. Okay, I see that. I need this. Okay. I would have messed it up. So I have provided the tool-based URL and the key from that other course. I'm going to embed without blocks. Yes, we're going to share the name, the tool, accept grades from the tool. There are no grades here, so it doesn't really matter. So now I'm going to save changes. Now I'm going back to my course. Oops, sorry. Do I need to put the launch URL in there? I think it should pick it up from before, but I'll just do that there to duplicate that. Save and display. So now look what happens. There is that other course with the survey embedded in this course. Okay? Now, I'm going to do something here. I'm going to log out. in this course, there is a student called iMoot. Okay. Oh, I didn't add iMoot to that course. Sorry. Users, enrolled users, enrolled users. Okay, so iMoot is now a user in this course. Okay. I'm going to log out and log back in as iMoot. Right? And there is that survey link. Now I'm going to jump back to the provider server. Okay? What I want you to see is that there is not an iMoot user in this course. Okay? Or even on this system. Whoops, let's go back here, users. Oops, account, browse list. There's one. So you'll notice iMoot doesn't even exist here in this system. Right? Remove all filters. Move or smother. Okay. There's no iMoot user in this system. So I don't even have that iMoot person in that course. Right? So if we look at participants in this course, no one's there named iMoot. Now I'm going back to the other server. I'm logged in up here as iMoot user. I'm going to try and take this survey. Notice it's embedded inside my course. Answer the questions. So have you ever participated? Yes. Have you ever taught? We'll say no. I don't use any LMS. I'm on the fence. We'll say I'm somewhat apprehensive. What are 3 outcomes? Again, this was a survey, a pre-course survey I made up for people who were learning to teach online. So this is, we'll call this person iMoot here. Don't know what my outcomes. Expected outcomes, I should say. But anyway, submit your answers. All right. So now, he did that. She did that. And we can go back to the course and so on. Now, I am going to switch over to the producer course. Okay, so now I'm in this producer course. I'm going to pop in here and show responses. And there is iMoot user who responded, and there are the results. Interesting thing here too is if I go to teaching online and I look at course participants, there was an account created automatically for iMoot user by the LTI plugin. And there he is. Now, I can also go back here to teaching online. And let's say I want to add another, share something else. So I wanted to go to LTI Provider. I'm duplicating sort of what I did before. I'm going to add one. And now I'm going to say, I want to share a quiz. Okay. Anything else we need here? Again, I want to make this LTI user. I don't think there's anything I need to do. So here is take this quick quiz. Again, a launch URL and a shared secret. I'm now going back to my consumer course, sample LTI. I'll come back here. And I'm in as the iMoot user. I need to go in as a teacher. Okay. And we'll turn editing on. And now I want to add another resource, which would be an external tool. And I'm going to call this quiz. And again, I'm going to come in, add one. And this is going to be another quiz. I had already set one up using when I was checking this. So we now need this URL. Going back to this course, put that in there. Come back here, get this key, or the secret rather, and the key we don't really need. Embed without blocks. Yes, we're going to share that. We're going to share that. I'll talk about the grades a little bit later. Okay. And I think, now I think I don't need to put the launch URL in there. We will see what happens. I think because that was set up, it should work. So let's save and return to the course. There is my quiz. I'm now going to log out, go back in as iMoot. Okay. And iMoot is going to click on the quiz. And the quiz. Okay. So Illinois is Springfield, Indiana is Indianapolis, but I'm going to do that incorrectly. We'll say, we'll say Fort Wayne. Pennsylvania is Harrisburg, so we'll get one wrong. Maybe I'm convinced. The way this question is set up, if you said yes, most definitely, you get 100%. If you said maybe, I think you get 40 or 50%. If you say no, you get 0. Well, anyway. iMoot puts those questions in. Submit all and finish. Submit all and finish. All right. And we're done. And there is the score. 5.33 out of 10. Go back to sample LTI. So I'm back in this course. Now I'm going to jump over to the course provider. And let's go and click on this quiz link. There are 2 attempts. This is because I had done this before on a text. So here is iMoot user who came in and took the test. Now, this really opens up a lot of possibilities. So I'm going to stop sharing. We can go back here. And I think we're all back in my course. So now this is huge because you can have 2 different institutions, 2 different Moodle servers sharing content from a course. So maybe you have a module on U.S. history, and you're talking about a particular period, let's say Roosevelt. And so you can share that with another school. You could set up a wiki and have institutions from 2 different, or students from 2 different schools sharing and so on. So, you can just go on and think about the possibilities here. You can share content without having your servers connected together with something else. So, Yeah, okay, Stu. So when Moodle is an LTI provider, are users deleted after a set time? You can set it up so they are. When you set up the users, I think the latest version of this with that Juan Leva set up, they can be deleted after a certain period of time, yes. Now also, I went in and remember in the default the default town, I put in LTI user so that I can easily go in and do a bulk user delete or something. Now, let me show you something else. Let me go back, and I did want to do this. I'm going back to sharing my screen. So that person, iMoot, was created as a user in this course right here. All right? So now let's go and look at, you think now, oh, can this person just log into this Moodle? If iMoot tries to log into this site, it's not going to happen. And here is why. Let's go to site administration, users, accounts, browse users. Now we'll find iMoot user here. Right here. But let's look at his profile. Notice that the username is encrypted with that secret key. iMoot user doesn't know what that is. And so there's no way that iMoot user can log into this provider course other than through the consumer course. And notice that the authentication method is no login. So this is really a protection. This iMoot user has not become a user who can log in to the provider site. So I did want to mention that. Okay, I think that's it. I think we have about 5-10 minutes for questions, and I very likely cannot think about questions. I mean, I might not have all the answers, so if there are others who can give an answer, that's fine. So let me go back. Jeremy Hopkins, how do you think this will compare with Tin Can API? Tin Can, as I think, is a way of embedding content. It's sort of an extension of SCORM, as I understand it. And so you're creating content in some other with some other tool, and then what you're actually doing with Tin Can is uploading the entire content into your Moodle course. And you're running that then in your Moodle course through the Tin Can API does the communication. That's not it? Because I thought Tin Can was similar to the SCORM. So yes, use the mic. Jeremy, I just unmuted you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think my understanding of Tin Can, it looks a little bit like the kind of LTI. So let's say you've got a Moodle course in your own Moodle, and then somewhere else on the web somebody's made available a resource using Tin Can. Then you launch it from your Moodle course, and you complete the activity on the remote site, but then the tracking information is sent back to a learning record store. There's an open source one becoming available, and I think they're trying to shoehorn this into Moodle's existing SCORM activity type, at least as a first step. So it kind of does something, it looks kind of similar to this, which is why I asked about it. I think it's distributed, I guess, is way to describe.
That's very, very possible, and I don't know if there anyone else who can give some information about that.
I mean, it's not in. I mean, this exists in Moodle, as you've demonstrated, and Tin Cans are still quite new and quite a way off. But I just wondered if you'd.
Right, Tin Can is quite a way off, from what I understand. Stuart, are there any examples of Moodle sites providing an NTL LTI. Well, I think Stuart, yeah, you know, you could just set up a course and share the entire course if you wanted to. And all you need to do is give the people that launch URL and the shared secret, and then they're in there. I do want to look at the tin can business some more and see how that differs. I had always related it to SCORM, as Jean-Marc said, but yeah, Jeremy, I don't know enough about it to speak intelligently. Any issues with us having? Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't know much about it. The thing that interests me about Tin Can is that some authoring tools have created mobile apps.
Right.
So that you can, and again, this doesn't work in Moodle at the moment because of Moodle's authentication. The way I see that going in the future is that you could launch an activity from Moodle that would give you the option to, say, download that onto an iPad. You can then take that offline and, say, complete the quiz offline, and then when you reconnect to the network, Tin Can resyncs all the tracking data. That's kind of why I'm interested in Tin Can. It's more about the sort of mobile stuff, really, and it's like the idea that you can do stuff completely offline if you want to.
Yeah, thank you.
Kind of pie in the sky at the moment, but
yeah, and it will take, from what I've read, it is going to be 1 or 2 years before that becomes really workable. Stuart, any issues with us having the result data? Give me a little more info, or take the mic. Can you unmute yourself? There you go. You're open, Stu. Do you have a mic? Whoop. You're muted. I think you and I were muting and unmuting. Oh, no mic. Okay. So, what do you mean by the result data? Stu? Now, one thing, we talked about passing back grades, and what happens in this, what I showed you today, is that the grades reside on the provider side. Because what I created was an LTI Consumer tool. That wasn't a gradable item in that course. And so there's no way for the grades to come back to that course. What I haven't played around with yet is using a provider resource that will report grades back to Moodle. I don't know how that works. And if anybody knows about that, I'd be glad for you to give us a link or give us your name or email that we could contact you. Yes, LTI does need a connection. That's absolutely true. I'm going to go up here and see if there are any questions that came through while I was sharing my screen. Yes, Stu, you mentioned Moodle isn't finding the launch URL. I think I'm going to put in a tracker or send an email to Juan and ask him about that. That should be easy to do.
I think there was a bit of a chat in there, but I don't think there were any questions that people weren't answering each other or that were covered. I would like to just take this opportunity to thank you, Floyd, for your presentation. Folks, you're more than welcome to continue asking questions and stay in the room for questions. I am aware that the next session starts in 20 minutes. So for those that want a bit of a comfort break, you know, you can contact Floyd. Have you got your contact details here, or perhaps even in Floyd's profile you'll find those, or you know, feel free to stay and ask questions.
Right there.
Brilliant, thank you. Thanks, Floyd. Okay, so thanks again from the iMoot team, and enjoy the rest of the conference, folks.